Yo, what is up guys? Jay Blanks here from Blanks Gaming with another Monster Hunter video, and today's video will be on a mix set or build that I thought was extremely fun to use, and it may not be the most powerful build, but the great thing about Monster Hunter World is that there's so many different types of combinations you can do with the armor skills. So if this is a build you guys would definitely want to try out in the future, or if it's something that you thought was interesting to see, feel free to drop a like and feel free to subscribe. It really does help the channel out. And having said that, let's begin the video. Alright, so the main purpose of this build is to land critical hits to not only gain that bonus damage, but also prevent my sharpness from decreasing, which essentially leads to pretty much infinite sharpness throughout the battle. And just to further explain that, let's go over the armor that I'll be wearing. I'll be wearing the Wrathsoul Helm along with the Wrathsoul Mail, which is made by Azure Rathalos, and the Kaiser Vambraces, Coil, and Greaves, which is made by Teostra. And the reason I'm wearing all this is because wearing the full set unlocks the special skill that the armor comes with. The first skill that we want to go over is the skill that comes from the Teostra set, which is called Master's Touch, and this prevents your weapon from losing sharpness during critical hits. The next one is the skill that comes from the Rathalos set, called Critical Element, and this increases elemental damage when landing critical hits as well. So as you can see, they both do revolve around landing critical hits, so the next thing we want to do is increase our affinity. Now, in order for us to reach that high affinity or critical hit rate, we decided to use the Corona, which is the shield and sword made by Rathalos, and the reason we chose this weapon is because it already has a base 20% affinity, which is already pretty high for a weapon. And moving on to some of the armor skills, as you can see, we have level 4 attack boost that comes from a jewel in the weapon, along with a level 3 attack charm. And the reason we have this is because it does provide that 5% affinity along with the bonus 12 attack. We also have level 3 weakness exploit, 2 coming from our Vambraces and 1 coming from the Coil. And this is just a great skill to have in any build because it does increase your affinity by 50% when hitting weak spots, which is pretty much the only place you want to hit in a monster during a battle. Next we have Latent Power, which is an interesting skill because it does increase your affinity and reduce your stamina depletion only when certain conditions are met, which are either taking 150 damage or being in battle for 5 minutes, I believe. And this only temporarily increases it, but once it does activate, I do get an additional 20% affinity. And lastly, we will be using Critical Boost because we will be doing a lot of critical hits. We might as well increase the percentage from the normal 25% to 30%. Okay, now that we went over the most important skills in the build, just to tie everything together, let's go over how much affinity we end up with when all the conditions are met. So we have the 20% from the Corona, the 5% from the attack boost, 50% from the weakness exploit, and 20% from the latent power, totaling 95% affinity. As you can see, that's pretty much every single hit being a critical hit, allowing us to activate the armor skills, which are preventing sharpness from decreasing, along with the bonus elemental damage on critical hits. I'm sure by now you guys are tired of hearing all the numbers, so let's move on to the actual monster fight using the build. We will be going up against Val Hazak because he is weak against fire and he is relatively easy to hit, making him the best test subject. Okay, now that we knocked down Val Hazak, we are free to attack him without having to worry about anything. And right off the bat, we are hitting critical hits. And as you can see, if you look at my sharpness gauge, it is staying relatively the same. And even without the weakness exploit or latent power, we still have a 25% affinity, making it easy to land these critical hits. And if you look at the sharpness of the actual Corona, the blue section is relatively small compared to the other colors, which means that it should deplete a lot faster. But due to the skill provided by the Teostra set, it is staying the same. and once you take enough damage, your latent power will activate and you'll be notified by a message on the right side of your screen. And once it's active, it makes a huge difference. As you can see, literally every hit I'm doing is a critical hit right now, especially when it's on a weak point, because it does bring me up to that 95% affinity. And this is the reason I thought this build was so fun to use, and I thought it'd be interesting to try out, because you do see those constant critical hits, and also your sharpness does not go down, so you don't need a whetstone. And I do believe you do get a small bonus damage when your weapon is on blue sharpness. That pretty much wraps up the video on the mix set and build that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you thought this was interesting or something you'd want to try in the future, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out, and I really do appreciate all of the support. And if you guys have your own builds that you want to share, just leave them in the comments below. Anyways, this is Jay Blanks from Blanks Gaming. I'll see you guys next time.